What's up, my friend? Abby here, and welcome back to Writer's Life Wednesdays. Today we are talking about choosing a tense for your story. This is the question, past or present? We won't talk about future tense because I don't know anybody who writes in future tense. There's obviously an upside and a downside to writing in past tense or present tense, and that's where we're going to discuss and explore in today's video. We're not going to talk about point of view, so if you're here to figure out whether or not you should write first person or third person, you should watch this video instead. Okay, let's dive right in and talk about choosing a tense for your story. Before we go into the upside and downside of writing past versus present, I just want to say this. Go with your gut. If you always default to one of these, you should probably stick with writing that tense. That's what feels natural to you, so that's good. And there's no right or wrong tense to write in, which is great because we all have different personal preferences. So if you already have a favorite tense to write in, it's probably a good idea to stick with that for two reasons. One, it comes most natural to you, so you'll be more creative and feel more free while writing in that tense. And two, you will make less tense mistakes. Example, slipping into past when you're trying to write present and slipping into present when you're trying to write past. My personal favorite and what comes most natural to me is present tense, and whenever I try to write in past tense, I'm like constantly accidentally writing present tense again and again and again, which just makes the editing process longer and more annoying. But even though I'm partial to present, I will be looking at both of these tenses objectively and judging them fairly, the upside and the downside of both. First, present tense. The upside. Present feels more active because it's happening right now. When I read and write present tense, I feel more like I'm in the thick of the action because it feels like it's happening right now as opposed to happening a long time ago. This is the number one reason why I love present tense, because it's happening in real time, and so it makes it feel more real. Both you and the character don't know the outcome of the story, and that can make the reader feel more one with the character as they're experiencing the same emotions and realizations at the same moment that the character is experiencing them. One thing you might have heard about present tense is that it's unique because not a lot of writers use it. This really is not true anymore because a lot of writers are now using the present tense in storytelling, at least in YA fiction, which is what I read a lot of. But that being said, it would be a good idea to really acquaint yourself with the genre that you're writing and just get an idea of what your readers are comfortable and used to reading. Not saying that you can't do something outside of your genre's norm, because I absolutely am a big proponent of that. Heck yes, man. Go for it. Do something unique. Color outside the lines. I'm all for that. But you also want to make sure that your reading experience is easy for your readers so that they don't get stuck and confused on anything and miss out on your awesome story. And of course, to be fair, we have the downside. Present tense traps you in linear time. Present tense is happening right now, so it can have more urgency, but it can also trap you in linear time, which can make it harder to include things like time jumps and flashbacks. Not that you can't include time jumps and flashbacks with the present tense, because you totally can. It's just a little trickier to make it feel smooth and not jarring to the reader. So if the entirety of your story takes place over a short period of time, present tense might be the better option for you. But if your story has to move through a lot of time and make significant tracks, then present tense might not be the best choice for you. Present tense, watch out. If you're writing present tense, the thing you want to watch out for is those unnecessary details that try to sneak their way into your narrative. I've heard it said that writing in present tense encourages you to include more of those unnecessary details about your character's personality, habits, routines that you otherwise wouldn't have written about in past tense, because you're watching everything play out in real time. I don't know if I'd use the word encourage, just because I think this is something that every writer grows out of over time. The more you write, the less you do this. But some writers might find that present tense does distract you more with unnecessary details. Regardless of what tense you're writing in, it's good to have this rule of thumb. If it doesn't matter to the story you're telling, delete it. Okay, now let's move on to past tense. The upside. Non-linear time makes room for suspense. If the character knows the outcome of these events and they're looking back on it from the future, there is more room for that rising dread. Not every past tense story does this, but a lot of writers take advantage of past tense to let the character give the reader some insight into what's going to happen. Example, I didn't know it then, but I would meet her again soon. Not saying you can't create suspense with present tense, because you totally can. You just have to get creative and find different ways to incorporate it, such as switching a point of view in present tense to another character that's creating some kind of a plot against this character, and this character doesn't even know anything about it, but you do because you have insight into this conversation over here. So there are different ways, you just have to get creative, but there are different ways to add suspense to present tense. I didn't try to make that rhyme. I'm sorry. Okay, moving on. And the downside of past tense. Past can feel more passive because it's all said and done. Of course, this is just a given that past tense gives the feeling that something happened once, it's not happening right now. You lose that sense of urgency and immediacy because you know that the character's already been through these events and lived to tell the tale. It's kind of like watching a pre-recorded sports event versus watching a live sports event. Okay, it's not really the same thing, but you know what I mean. But here's the thing, unless your character's actually alluding to the outcome that the reader does not know yet, there is really no distinction between past and present. In fact, I can't remember 90% of the time if the book I'm currently reading is written in the past tense or the present tense. Past tense, watch out. If you write past tense, watch out for passive voice. I don't know why this is, but in my experience, it is so much easier to slip into passive voice when you're writing past tense. Example, the door was opened by Mary. Of course, you could say Mary opened the door, which is correct, in active voice, but for some reason, Mary opens the door comes to me so much quicker than the door is opened by Mary when writing in present tense. I don't know, for some reason, it just is easier to spot passive voice in present tense, whereas it just doesn't stand out as much in past tense. Maybe I'm the only one who struggles with this though, but it's something to watch out for. So in conclusion, I would just like to say past or present, it's up to you. Some styles and manipulations of time might be easier with one versus the other, but really it just comes down to what you feel most comfortable writing, what comes natural to you, so that you can continue to be creative while writing and not be constantly thinking like, oh, I have to fit into this tense, okay? I have to write this tense, I have to write this tense. So do what comes natural to you. Writing is all about creativity, right? So you have to give yourself room to breathe and explore new things. And if something's not working for you, then change it up. All right, my friend, time for you to talk to me. Comment below and tell me, what tense do you prefer to write in? Past or present? Or future? Smash that like button if you like this video, and be sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because I post writing videos and publishing videos every single Wednesday, and I would love to have you here in the community. Also, big news, I just launched a Patreon a couple days ago. You may have seen the video for that, but if not, definitely check it out. The Patreon community is not only the best way to support what I'm doing here on YouTube, but also connect personally with me and get better guidance on your story. So go to patreon.com/Abbie Emmons to check out all the awesome extra content that I made for you. Until next week, my friend, rock on.